Jason and the Golden Fleece. As you listen to the story, try reading along in your own book. When you hear this sound, turn the page. Chapter 1. Wicked Uncle Pelias. Long ago in Greece, there lived a boy named Jason. He was supposed to become king of the island Iolcos, but his uncle Pelias had stolen his throne. When he was old enough, he set off to Iolcos to win it back. On the way, Jason carried an old woman across a river. As he waded through, he lost one of his sandals. "Oh no! It's floating away!"
"Don't worry,"
said the woman.
"If you go on with just one sandal, you'll become a great hero."
Then she disappeared. How odd, thought Jason. But he did as she said all the same. When he got to Iolcos, his uncle Pelias was not pleased to see him.
Uh-oh, this spells trouble.
The gods had told him that a young man with only one sandal would come to take his throne.
"So, nephew,"
sneered King Pelias,
"you think I don't know why you've come? Well, I've a job for you first. Here's the deal."
Jason wondered what he'd say.
"Bring me the precious Golden Fleece, and the throne is yours,"
the king said with an evil smile. Jason gulped. The Golden Fleece was far away, in a place known as Colchis, but he agreed. He set to work right away. A man named Argus built him a ship. Then the goddess Athene gave him a magic branch.
"This will protect your ship."
"Thank you, Athene." Jason named his ship the Argo. "Now, who shall I take with me?" he wondered. Lots of people wanted to join the voyage. There was Orpheus, who made wonderful music, Atalanta, a beautiful huntress, and Hercules, the strongest man in the world. Before long, Jason had almost 50 people who wanted to go. Then, with a flutter of wings, the North Wind's twin sons arrived.
"Please take us, Jason!"
"You're all fantastic," said Jason. "Everyone can come." Jason called his crew the Argonauts. They all piled onto the Argo for the long voyage.
"Lift up the anchor!"
"I hope no one gets seasick."
With Athene's magic branch tied on tight, the Argo was ready to go. The gods sent a gust of wind to fill the Argo's sail, and the ship lurched forward. Jason and the Argonauts were off. Chapter 2. Amycus the Bully. After 3 days, the Argo stopped at an island. There was a big, hairy man on the beach, a very big man.
"I'm King Amycus,"
he roared.
"Anyone who comes here has to fight me, or else."
One of the Argonauts stepped forward.
"I am Polydeuces. I'll fight you,"
he said bravely. King Amycus laughed.
"You? I'd eat you for breakfast."
But Polydeuces wasn't scared. He went right up to the giant king.
"I'm ready,"
he said calmly. The Argonauts were worried, but they gathered around with the king's soldiers to watch the fight.
"Come back here, you little squirt."
Amycus lunged at Polydeuces with his fat fists, but Polydeuces dodged. Amycus tried again, but Polydeuces was too fast for him. Polydeuces ducked and darted for hours. As the sun sank lower in the sky, the king began to weaken. Cleverly, Polydeuces moved around so the sun shone straight into the king's eyes. Amycus was dazzled and stumbled.
Help! I can't see!
Polydeuces grabbed his chance. As the king tottered, he whacked him on the head as hard as he could.
Take that!
That was the end of Amycus, who dropped to the ground, dead. His soldiers were very angry. Jason and the Argonauts raced to their ship and rowed away. Chapter 3. The Wise Old Man. As the Argonauts sailed on, a wild and scary storm blew up. It whipped up the waves and swept the Argo onto a rocky island. But the Argonauts were lucky. When the storm was over, they found that no one was hurt. The ship was fine too. "Let's explore the island," said Jason. He set off with 2 men from his crew. After a while, they found an old spooky house. They peeked around the door. Inside it was dark and gloomy. Mice scuttled away from them, with squeaks of fear. "Hello!" they called.
Is anyone home?
A blind man appeared at the top of the stairs.
Who's there?
He asked. He sounded tired. Jason knew the old man at once. It was Pelias, who could see into the future. "Jason, with some friends," he called. "We're on a long journey. Can you tell us what dangers we will meet?"
"One good turn deserves another. Only if you get rid of the harpies,"
said Pelias.
"They steal all my food."
"Okay," said Jason. "The sons of the north wind can help." As Pelias laid out some food, the harpies came swooping down. They were no match for the swift twins. Soon, all the harpies were dead.
"At last!"
cried Pelias in relief.
"Thank you. Now, your greatest danger is the clashing rocks. They might clash together and crush you. Take this dove. Let it go when you reach the rocks. If it flies through safely, you will be safe too."
Chapter 4. Clashing Rocks. The Argo set sail again and headed for the Black Sea. The clashing rocks soon loomed ahead, dark and dangerous. Jason held up the dove and let it go. The dove flew straight for the rocks. Jason watched as it dived between them. "The rocks are clashing together!" he cried. But then he saw the dove, safe on the other side. Just one white feather fluttered down where the rocks had trapped its tail. "Let's go! Start rowing!" shouted Jason. But the wind was against them, and the rocks began to close together. "Faster! Faster!" The goddess Athene saw the danger and sent a wave to help them. The ship squeezed through just in time. The Argo sailed safely into the Black Sea. "Not far to go now," Jason told his crew. But then they were attacked by some horrible birds, which shot poison arrows from their wings.
"Ah! I've been hit!"
The crew fired arrows back to scare them away. The birds flew off in fright, and the Argo drew near to Colchis. "Let's stop here for the night. Orpheus can play us some music with supper." "We'll hide the Argo just outside Colchis," said Jason. "I'll visit the king in the morning." Chapter 5 Challenge at Colchis. The next day, Jason went to find Aedes, the king of Colchis. "I've come for the Golden Fleece," he explained.
"You can have it if you do the tasks I set for you,"
said Aedes. Aedes didn't want Jason to have the fleece at all. He had a cunning plan.
"First, you must tame 2 bulls and use them to dig up a field,"
he said.
"Then you must sow the field with dragon's teeth."
Jason's heart sank. That sounded impossible, but he nodded bravely. He had no idea how he would do it. He went back to his ship and talked to the Argonauts. None of them had any ideas either. What am I going to do? But there was something that Jason didn't know. The king's daughter, Medea, had seen him at the palace. She had fallen in love with him on the spot. Medea had heard her father set the impossible task. She was determined to help Jason.
I must help Jason. But how?
At last, she had an idea.
Hecate, the goddess of magic.
Medea thought.
She'll help me. Quickly, there's no time to lose.
In the dead of night, she drove her chariot through the woods to Hecate's temple. There, she knelt in front of the altar and pleaded with the goddess.
Please, tell me what to do, Hecate.
Hecate told her to make a magic potion with herbs from the woods.
I'll do it now,
said Medea. With the potion made, Medea went to find Jason. He was in the woods, wandering by himself.
Drink this,
she whispered.
It's magic. It will protect you against the bulls.
Thank you for your help, princess. All too soon, it was dawn. A crowd of people watched as Jason walked up to the bull's cave.
"The fool! He has no chance!"
Jason heard a loud bellow, then the thunder of the bull's feet. As they ran, the ground shook. Jason took a deep breath. Suddenly, the bulls charged at Jason, breathing fire. They had huge brass hooves and sharp, scary horns. They scorched the ground near Jason with their fiery breath, but they didn't harm him. The potion's working, thought Jason in delight. Slowly, Jason walked up to the monstrous bulls. The crowd held its breath. He grabbed their horns and forced them to kneel. Then he stroked them, and they snorted happily. The crowd gasped in disbelief. "I'll get on with digging the field now," said Jason. Jason soon finished digging the field. King Aedes was furious.
I've been tricked!"
he fumed. He handed Jason a helmet full of dragon's teeth.
"Right! Try doing this, if you dare!"
Jason marched up and down the field all day, sewing the teeth. By the time he had finished, the sun was beginning to set. Jason was very tired. It had been a long day. Almost done. But why would anyone want to sew dragon's teeth? Jason went to the river for a drink of water. Pleased he had finished. But suddenly he heard shouting. He looked back. Where he'd sewn the teeth, soldiers were growing out of the ground. This meant real trouble. What if they attacked everyone? Jason thought quickly. He picked up a big stone and hurled it into the middle of the field. Jason threw the stone so hard that it killed one of the soldiers.
"Who did that?"
yelled the others. Jason ducked down and hid.
"You did it!"
"No, I didn't." The soldiers couldn't tell where the stone had come from. They shouted and argued. Then they began to fight. It was a vicious, bloody battle. Soon, most of the soldiers were dead.
"He did it! I'll teach you!"
Jason jumped up and killed the rest of the soldiers.
Hooray for Jason!
Cheered the Argonauts.
He's our hero!
3 cheers for Jason! Hip hip hooray! Medea was pleased too, but she was afraid to show it. What if her father guessed her secret?
My father would kill me if he knew I loved Jason.
Chapter 6. The Golden Fleece. Aeetes was annoyed, but he had one last task up his sleeve.
You still have to fight the snake that guards the Golden Fleece,
he told Jason.
I bet you can't do that!
But then Aeetes began to worry. What if Jason had magic powers?
I'm not taking any chances,
he said to himself. He called his army.
Tonight, you must burn the Argo and kill all her crew!
Medea overheard him. She turned white and rushed from the palace. Medea ran all the way to the Argo.
Jason! Jason!
She called.
My father is plotting to burn your ship. We have to get the fleece now.
Hide the Argo! Jason ordered his crew hurriedly. Then he followed Medea into the woods. Deep in the dark woods stood a massive oak tree. The Golden Fleece hung from its branches, glittering in the moonlight. But the snake on guard was vast. Jason stared. It was the biggest snake he'd ever seen, as big as a dragon. As Jason and Medea approached, the snake hissed and bared its fangs. Then it slithered up to them, its scales rattling.
Don't worry,
said Medea bravely. She began to sing.
Lullaby, my little snake. Lullaby, don't stay awake.
Slowly, the snake's eyes closed. It was asleep. Almost got it! Jason scrambled up the tree and grabbed the fleece. Jason and Medea rushed back to the Argo with the Golden Fleece. Jason held it up for the Argonauts to see. We have the fleece! He cried. Let's go! Quickly, the Argonauts set sail, taking Medea with them. Chapter 7. A Narrow Escape. When Aeetes heard the news, he flew into a rage.
They won't get away with this!
He shouted. He marched his army to the shore to board his fastest ships.
After them!
Cried Aeetes. His small ships were much faster than the heavy Argo. By noon, they had almost caught up. Soon the Argo was trapped. It's no use, cried Jason. There are too many of them. We'll have to give them the fleece. But Medea had an idea.
My brother Absyrtus is in charge of the ships. If we kill my brother Absyrtus, my father will give up,
she said.
It's our only chance.
Okay, said Jason. He called out to the king's ships. Absyrtus, come aboard to make a truce.
Give me the fleece!
Too late. The men of Colchis realized what was happening. They watched helplessly as Medea stabbed her brother and threw him into the sea. King Aeetes began to sob.
A curse upon Medea!
He wept.
How could she kill her own brother?
King Aeetes ordered his men to fish Absyrtus out of the water. In the confusion, the Argo slipped away. The king was too upset to chase Jason again. Sadly, he returned with his fleet to Colchis. Chapter 8 King of Iolcos. Jason and Medea felt guilty for what they had done,
Let's ask the gods for forgiveness.
said Medea. So they stopped at the island home of Circe, a beautiful enchantress.
I am Circe. Why have you come? I killed my brother.
Medea confessed.
Will the gods forgive me?
Circe took them into her palace and waved her wand. There was a flash of light.
The gods have forgiven you.
We can go home, said Jason. He and Medea went back to the Argo and set sail happily. When they reached Iolcos, Jason went straight to his uncle. Here is the Golden Fleece, he said. Now I want my throne back.
I don't believe it.
King Pelias kept his word. Jason and Medea were married and crowned king and queen of Iolcos. The feasting and dancing lasted a month, celebrating the long-awaited return of Jason and his Argonauts.